For better or for worse, for some reason there's a massive fascination, always has been, probably always will be, with the bench press. Is that a good or a bad thing? It sort of depends. The real question is, how really important is it to us, people who are interested in strength, to have a balance of interest, not just the bench press. So look at this picture. This is Mr. Pisarenko. This might be like the most manly lifting picture ever taken, ever. This guy was pretty much the most massively intimidating weightlifter of all time. Huge 80s mustache, thick black hair. The guy clean and jerked like 560 pounds, weighing like 100 kilos. A massive, massive man. But the point being, the squat is probably always going to be massively, massively important. To do it frequently, to do it heavily, to always do it. If you want to be strong and you want a foundation for anything else you're going to do, this much is sort of paramount. The pull, either a clean stop pull, as this very, very highly qualified Olympic level weightlifter is performing, a snatch, a clean and jerk, a deadlift, anything where you pull the bar explosively off the ground is going to be almost equally as important. You can't do it as frequently as you can squat in terms of heavy strength building movements, because it can wear your back a little bit, but you can't really pretend to be strong or fit or an athlete unless you're pulling a lot. So squat and pulls, way more important than bench pressing. And in terms of things you do with your arms, here's the famous Klokov clean and jerking with lots of weight, 540 pounds or something. We know that getting a big weight over your head using your arms is like the third in the trifecta of athletic things you can do that require lots of strength and coordination, core strength, the use of your legs to balance the weight overhead. So we know all these things are way more important than bench pressing. But we don't want to ignore how useful the bench press can be. I mean, there's a reason why lots of people do it. On some level, it's got to be beneficial, and it is. And I'll share one quick story. When I was playing football, it was actually my time at the University of Memphis, like most 18, 19-year-old kids, I really loved bench pressing. Again, for better or for worse. But our strength coach kind of downplayed a lot. I said, look, you never lay on your back on the football field and push somebody off you. I go, well, maybe sometimes you do. But I thought it was even then it was a massive sort of oversight of why you lay down in bench, mostly because of the gravity issue, and that's how weights work. If you want to train your chest doing this, you're going to have to push against gravity. I thought it was a little oversight on his part. But the truth is that anytime you're going to brace your feet in athletic movement, and you're going to use your arms to push against something, a really good example is football linemen. This happens to be the premier weekend for college football. When you get up against an opponent and you start pushing and using your arms, massive arm strength is useful to you. And I actually relied on that quite a bit when I played football myself. So yeah, it can be useful in applied athletic things when you extend your elbow. It's also very useful if you're going to use it as an assistance exercise to build other lifts. If you have a shaky top position when you jerk a weight, if you struggle with push press, if you struggle with holding a kettlebell over your head, and doing anything else, I mean, having stronger arms is going to help you. The third point would be you can always do the bench press for the bench press's sake. You can have a goal to bench more, that's perfectly fine. The real question while we're here today is what's the best technique for the bench press? I think my current opinion is that there are two extremes. The one is what we're all used to. So somebody, the common bench goer or somebody who doesn't think about technique ever will lay down on the bench like a dead fish. The back is flat, the feet just sort of lay wherever they lay. They grab the bar, that's what you gotta do. They pick it up, and they do this number. It looks like a bench press. Of course, we could ask ourselves what's bad about that form. Laying there like it's a couch is a bad thing. Having your shoulder blades in any sort of position, often very, very loose and spread out, is very, very bad for your shoulder health. So what happens is you lay on that bench and your shoulder blades are apart, they get put in that position and you try to bring your arms back when you go to the bar, and you can't go anywhere. So it creates a lot of sort of undue tension, adverse tension in your shoulders. When I was in high school, every month or so I had an AC joint problem or an anterior deltoid problem or something in my shoulder. Well, I would bench a lot and didn't really know what was causing those injuries, and it was just a matter of not being in good position. So we always want to keep very, very good position. We don't want to lose contact with the bench. We don't want our feet and butt and head and everything else flailing and flopping around, that's even sometimes in here, you see that. You see people shaking their legs and moving their feet around. We're going to talk about how we can stop that from happening. And the last thing I already mentioned, chicken winging your elbows. Elbows out is a very bad position because it can kind of put more stress on your shoulder. If anybody's ever tried a heavy bench press like this, you'll probably, if you just do this, you could probably feel the tension in the front of your shoulder. What's the other extreme? A lot of people will go, well, if I want to do a bench press, I will look towards powerlifting because they are mastering the bench press. It's not a terrible idea, but what I see more and more is people abusing what powerlifters do and try to apply it to something that it's not necessarily applicable to, which is their own personal strength goals. So really, powerlifting is an example of exaggerations all around. What do powerlifters do? They're trying to lift as much weight as possible. They're not thinking of any other training goal as far as push presses or jerks or ring dips or anything. It doesn't matter. It doesn't necessarily matter if they are training their arms. They're trying to lift just the most weight possible. They're going to manipulate levers. They're going to take a very wide grip. They're going to have an extreme arch. They're going to shove their stomach as high up as possible. This is what I used to do. I know it very well. My PR bench press of all time was about 675. And you do that by being very large. I was 370 at the time, about 279 last night. You overly tuck your elbows and you touch that bar very low on your big inflated arched belly. So you cut half the range of motion off the lift. You untuck your elbows and you swing the bar back over your face. So it's really a movement that doesn't look like a press anymore. It's a manipulated, exaggerated movement. It also relies on the right kind of bench, the right kind of supportive gear to have that wide grip and not tear your arm out while you go for a super heavy bench press. So we want to shy away from using powerlifting specific tips to help us become better crossfitters and general strength athletes, because that's not going to help us jerk more presses. That's not going to help you do ring dips better. So what we want to do is take a good balanced approach. A big thing is contact with the bench and the floor, because if you're not stable, you're not going to bench press shit. A lot of people in here aren't stable. And every time there's a bench press session, I see people doing some mistakes, so we'll talk about that. The rule of powerlifting for some areas has been 5 points of contact. I like 4, which is your shoulder blades are pinched together as hard as you can pinch them. And they are buried into the bench to serve as a platform. You have to push off of that. You want that to be as sound as possible. You want your butt, which is the second point of contact, on that bench. That's floating around. It's going to lead to instability. Plus, you're so stupid. If you arch your butt up off the bench to try to lift the weight heavier. And the two other points, 3 and 4, are your feet. If your feet aren't in a good position, when they're floating around, you're going to lose immediately efficiency in the bench press. You want to help me out, Bryce? What is the best grip? Well, ideally, I think you should stay at least within a thumb's length distance from the smooth part of the bar. If you are way too close, that's sort of stupid. Go way close. Sometimes people want to do close grip bench presses like this. They pick it up, lower it down your chest. When you get a really weird torque bend on your wrist here, that's not going to feel really good at all. You're probably going to wear your wrist out pretty soon. You're going to have a lot of cramping and weird little sources of pain. If you take a thumb out grip, switch it, about there or a touch narrower, when you go down to your chest, do it, you're going to be in a better position. Now, I'm going to talk about one thing he's doing wrong in a minute. So about this length from the smooth is very good. If you go too wide, like go to your ring finger on the ring, go wider. Some people want to go wide because it helps them bench more weight. The problem is, with a lot of weight, this is going to put a lot of undue stress on your shoulders. And you're going to start having things like shoulder pain when you try to jerk and squat. So we don't want to perform the lift this way and take away from what we're trying to build in other lifts. So for grip, you're going to come up you're gonna put your thumbs right where the smooth begins. You're gonna grab it. That's gonna be right in that sweet spot where you're gonna use a lot of arm, you're gonna build a lot of strength. Does that make sense to everybody? And I might add, if I ever see you benching with your thumbs around the back of the bar, I will scold you. I know it seems cool and feels good, but you could potentially die doing that. Yesterday on Facebook, actually, a bunch of people circulated a video of a Russian powerlifter dropping 400 pounds from arm's length right onto the middle of his chest, and purportedly he has died. Initially enough, the bench press is probably the only lift in here that if you did it in a silly way, and you made a bad mistake with a heavy load, you could die. You're not going to die doing a heavy deadlift or a heavy squat because you can get out from the bar. But in this lift, there's a heavy bar, there's your soft tissue body, and there's a big metal platform. So you're going to get guillotined. So please pay attention to the grip issues. Where do your feet go? Oh, sit back there. This little diagram demonstrates the zone where you want to stay away from. Just lay down like a fish. Do the dead fish. Just lay down and put your body wherever you're going to go. If you just lay down and put your feet where they want to go, you may end up in this position where you sort of plop your feet down. That's not bad if you can maintain good position. The problem is you can't really get a good amount of tension going up from your legs, through your butt and your back, and just push your heels down on the ground. What we're looking for is solid everything, so we don't roll and flop around the bench. You can do that a little better if you spread your feet out and away from you a little bit and shove your heels down. So try that. So if he spreads them out a little bit, it really shoves them down. He has sort of a wider base of support. That can be very useful. You may love that. If you don't love it so much, I would recommend the second option, which is to pull your feet back into you. Closer to that little box, like a bigger gray box, is sort of this post. When you pull it near here, put the ball of your foot down, and then shove your heel down, they'll sort of rock you in position. You sort of squeeze the bench with your thighs. It'll also give you a lot of stability. So you may try to run this to your bed. Don't put them in no man's land. Don't let your feet just be relaxed. We're not going to pretend like a powerlifting where it's a total body movement where it's so extremely arch on the but we do want a little bit of arch, we do want leg stiffness. The elbows and bar path. I showed you what Alex did by alluding to it. Let's try again, bro. He'll take a thumb out grip. We'll keep them around. He'll squeeze the bar. He'll get his arm really good and dug in. He'll pick it up. What you basically want to do is keep very efficient with your bench press. You don't want to like go down too low, then come back up here, do a miss motion. You don't want to drop it straight down on your throat, because that could be potentially very bad. And your elbows are way too far behind the bar. You're not going to be very strong like that. The best thing to do is just to go straight down and touch at about or just below your nipple line. That's going to give you a very strong position. Especially if your feet are solid and you got a little arch, you'll be able to really push very strongly. The interesting thing is elbow position. People got onto the idea that tucking your elbows is good. And it is, but not if you overdo it. If you bring them very close, you're going to lose a lot of strength. This is not a very natural pushing position. It's just as bad as chicken winging your arm way out. The best position is a natural one where your elbow is about 45 degrees out. So it's not here, it's not here, it's just naturally in this position. This is where you're going to be strongest. This is going to be similar to where you're going to push a bar overhead. It's going to be similar to where you would dip. It's just a natural thing. This is not where you push a bar overhead. This is not where you push a bar overhead. You don't dip like this, and not for very long. You don't dip like extremely tucked in. This is the strongest position. So we're going to keep that. Thanks, bro. What else? I want to give a little pearls on training. I didn't want it to be just technique talk. What should you really keep in mind? One, doing heavy 1RM weights. I used to do that a lot of specialized rack extensions, 1RM attempts, lots of testing the bench. But really the bench press seems to respond a lot to work. Like the good old sets of 5x5 or maybe heavy sets of 3 are always going to be best. Do a lot of volume, do a lot of sets, do a lot of practice. Don't beat yourself up with heavy 1RM attempts. It's not really the way you're going to become stronger. You're going to just see how strong you are doing that. Again, we don't want to beat up your shoulders and the things that you need in order to do the clean jerks and the dips and everything else you're trying to accomplish. You want to try to be as quick as possible. Lowering the bar, pausing, is a good thing. Coming up at a slow, controlled pace. We never really want to do that. We always want to push and squat and pull and jump and run pretty much as quickly as we can. We want to be explosive in all things. And the bench press is the same way. So whether you're doing a light bench or a heavy set of 5x5 bench, get the weight down and get it off you as explosively as you can. That's the golden rule for everything. And in terms of pausing, should you pause or should you not pause? I don't think it matters too much. If you're going to do a competition in the bench press, you should do some work pausing. If you're just trying to become stronger, tap your chest, do a light pause, do a light tender bounce, whatever you're comfortable with, as long as you don't make some of those technique mistakes that we've already talked about. Rep it out. I said, for some reason, the bench press loves reps. So after you do some work sets, don't be afraid of dropping the weight to 60 or 70% of what you can do. We're doing sets of 10, 12, 15, 20 reps. For some reason, that seems to work really good. And let's not kid ourselves, walking around with a pumped up chest and feeling pumped afterwards is a pretty good feeling. That's why people love the bench press so much. You feel like a manly man. You can do a little chest pump in the mirror, whatever. I'll give you that. Have fun with it. We talked about pause. We talked about max effort training. Again, don't get too caught up in how much you bench press. We want to do the bench press to build things. We want them to get better at it because it's cool, but let's not sacrifice other things just so we bench press. It's kind of silly. And a couple of cool variations that you can also try. The bench press is great, but the only way to do it, my actual probably favorite version of it is to do it on an incline bench. It's a bit more specific. If you look at athletes, if you look at whether they're a weightlifter or a football player, you're going to probably generate force with your arm at a little bit of an angle upwards. You're going to strike an opponent, you're going to push a bar overhead. So that incline press is a little more specific. Plus, it's like if you have a weak jerk, or you struggle a bit with a push press, and you need a little extra work to help you, the incline press is pretty cool because you are lifting a bar overhead, so it's a little more specific than the bench press. It's very, very cool. A steep close grip incline press will make your arms very, very, very strong. My other favorite variation is the floor press, which most of you guys have probably have done once or twice. The floor press is just a bench press. When you take the bench away, you lower those hooks on the rack, and you use the floor as your bench. You still keep your shoulder blades tucked, you still keep your butt down. I actually like to do it where my feet are spread out in a V shape, and I can have my legs flat on the ground so I don't cheat. You pick the bar up, you lower it down slowly until your elbow touches the ground. You pause, and you push up. The advantage are, it's going to overload a little bit the middle to top third of your bench press. So if you kind of get a little stuck in the middle, that can help you bench press more weight, if that's what you want. Or if you have a shoulder injury or a little bit of pain, like in your bicep tendon, and this lower part of the bench press is giving you trouble, but you still want to do some pressing, that'll take all that pain away. So if you're interested in any variations, that's what I would recommend. Those are the slides. We showed a little bit of technique. Does anybody want to get on there and see what flaws we can find? You want to go? Sure. Get on there, buddy. You want to look the weight on the bar, or is the barbell itself? The barbell is fine. And if you see something he's doing, let's point it out. Let's do this as a sort of a group coaching session. Again, how wide are you out? Thumb's length, that's plenty wide, no wider than that. If I'm spotting him, I'm going to make sure he gets the weight over his chest safely. He's going to lower it straight down and push it up. You can probably shove his heels down a little more to get a little more tension. Like, see the difference in that? He's going to be much more stable already. Do it again. His elbow position is just fine. You can probably maybe squeeze it, make sure he squeezes the bar. You can make sure his wrists are good and straight. If you do this, I don't want to hurt your wrist. When you push, the force is going this way, and the load is going this way. This on your wrist is not so pleasant to feel. You want a nice straight wrist, so when you generate the force up through your arm, the force goes right into the weight and helps you lift the weight. That's why sometimes it's useful to have a wrist strap to hold that position, especially if you have a little bit of an injury. Same goes for a jerk or push press. Having a wrist strap is okay if you need it. Do a couple more. We'll check it from the side. It's going pretty much straight down. As long as his elbow is pretty close to a line with his hands, he's probably in really good position. Again, you can't be lazy in the legs. Anybody else want to give it a go? Kat, you want to give it a go? Let's give it a go.
Let's give it a go.
Let's give it a go. So when she puts her legs, so she's a little taller, she may benefit from spreading her feet out and creating a wider base. You just want to make sure the heels keep pushed down and you keep tension on your legs. Don't let your legs go loose. You're working your arms, but you gotta keep everything tight. Oop. The mistake there is bring it down a little too quick. If you pick it up, get to here, and then start trying to lift it, your head happens to be right under the bar. So if you need a spot, have somebody help you pick it up and carry it out. No. Hold the lock position until it gets out to where you're strong. Then start. Come on, straight down. Give a little bit of a bounce this side. This one chickens out a little bit more. To make for a little bit of emphasis, I'll try to keep that in a better position. Do a couple reps. But she's kind of doing a different exercise right here. If you look from the side, she's kind of doing a tricep extension to it. Don't change anything. Don't try to do it now. You see where her elbows are? Go to the side. Keep making mistakes. You're doing good. Look at her elbows. This will work your arms a lot, but it's going to be really hard. What she has to focus on is maybe keeping her elbow a little rotated out. Slow the bar straight down. Yeah, looks a little better. So straight up. Yeah. So for her, she touches a little higher. The problem, an obvious problem if you're a girl, is that you have boobs in the way. So you don't want to drop heavy weights into them. I'm not a girl, but I can imagine that's not always the best feeling thing. So you may put the brakes on before the bar sinks into soft places too much. That could be what you see her, she goes a little low, she goes a little high. That could be the problem. So stop a little short of going all the way into her chest, maybe. But her big problem is consistency. You want to touch that same spot. Right here, your form is pretty much vertical. When you push, for her mechanics, she may have to come back a little bit as she extends to keep the bar in a strong position. She lowers it, it goes up. That's probably her best path. She was lowering it like that, and if her elbows are out in front like this is going to be a bad weak, probably pain-inducing position. So the recommendation for you would be to work, here's your strong finishing position, lower. Here's probably your strong finishing position off the chest. You can probably practice that motion. The only disadvantage she has is she has long limbs, so the bench press is never going to be the thing she sets world records in. That's fine because no matter how our bodies are shaped, we can get much better at bench pressing. That's good. Thank you.
Doctor makes some mistakes.
Anybody else want to give it a go? If not, I think I will release you to your warm-up so you can get your Saturday training session on. Thank you for coming out. If you have any questions or you want a copy of those slides, whatever, just let me know. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers.
Hey, Chris.